Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Gemini for May 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, to see more about my live coaching sessions, also to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is available on a sliding scale, and you can also check into my upcoming class schedule and become part of my community by signing up for my free email newsletter. So what's going on this month? Well, first of all, some of you will be having your birthdays. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I get very worked up about birthdays. Astrologically, your birthday is one of your most powerful days of the year. That's when the sun in the sky gets back to the same point in the sky that it was when you were born on your birthday. It's called a solar return. The sun returns back to that point. And this is a very powerful day. Each of the planets in the zodiac represent different aspects of our experience and our personalities. And the sun, and specifically the planets that are closer to the sun and the planets closer to the sun, make up more of our personality, and the other outer ones are more generational planets, where it kind of binds us together with certain belief systems and habits with groups of people. But the sun of all of these planets represents what you want, your desires, what makes you burn bright, what makes you feel vibrant, what makes you feel warm, what you like to focus on. And all of these things are related to birthday wishes. That's where birthday wishes came from. Many things that we take for granted as just a normal thing, like birthday wishes, came from astrology. They're astrologically based, and astrology doesn't get credit for it. So you know I'm always trying to get the information out there so that astrology gets credit for all the cool things that it is woven into our experience. So that is why the sun returning back to the place where it was when you were born is such an amazing time, because the sun represents what you want. So when the sun in the sky representing what you want comes back into the place of the chart representing what you want, then it comes together and creates a portal for your desires. So I have heard and I have followed, I don't know where this originally came from, but that you get 10 birthday wishes, and you want to say them out loud, you want to write them down, you want to do a vision board. A vision board, by the way, is something that you put together with clippings and with words and phrases and pictures that embody the energies that you want to experience in the next year. And these are very powerful. And your birthday and the new moon in Aries, which will have passed by the time it's your birthday, would have been in April, are the two best days of the entire year to do a vision board. So take advantage of your birthday wishes. And if you are not a May-born Gemini, then be paying attention now and be thinking about this, because your time is coming and you want to make really good use of those wishes. So let's talk about the time before your birthday, because when the sun moves around, well, the sun doesn't really move around, right? We move around the sun, but from the perspective of the chart, this perspective of being on the earth, it looks like the sun moves around. So in the chart, the sun moves around, and it spends about a month in each of the 12 fields of experience. The 12 signs represent the 12 fields of experience, and put into a chart form, it looks like a pizza pie with 12 slices of pizza. So essentially the sun is moving around this circle in the chart, right, through these areas that are kind of wedged off in the form of these pie pieces that show us different fields of experience. So before the sun gets into your solar first house, which happens during your birthday time, the month of your birthday, it spends time in the 12th house. And the sun moving through the 12th house can be very challenging, because the sun is like a spotlight. It's like a focus. It just puts this big lamplight, you know, one of those outside floodlights on whatever field of experience it's in. And the 12th house is one of these deep unconscious houses. It's the house of, well, it is the house of the deep unconscious. It's the house of meditation and dreams, and the place where there is no veil, there's no walls between us. It's the place where we're all one. So dreaming world and waking world and things that are seemingly separate all blend into this one kind of abstract, chaotic ball of potentials. And this very much relates to your deep unconscious. And it very much is like a room in your house that you don't clean very often, you know, that, or even like behind or under your refrigerator or behind or under your stove, if you ever do have the occasion to move that and you look back and you're like, oh my God, it's really bad, right? That is the energy in the unconscious mind because you don't know what's in there. Scientists say we use 10 to 20% of our brains consciously. The rest of it's unconscious. So it's like essentially behind or under the fridge or underneath, you know, some sticky place where you don't look in often. But when the sun moves through that space, all of those things get like a spotlight on them. You might have recurring dreams. And this is especially true at this time because Mercury is going to be retrograde for many of you, influencing at least part or all of that 12th house. So throughout the month of May, or for some of you into June, you will have some or all of the personal planets, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, moving through that 12th house space. And for some of you, Mercury will also be retrograde there. So it's just a tremendous amount of focus on a place where you don't really focus. So it can bring up old habits, it can bring up old problems, you can feel funky. Many people get depressed the month before their birthdays. And we might logically attribute this, say, oh, well, you start reflecting upon your life, you start reflecting upon the last year, you start seeing if it measures up to what you're trying to do. And that's why sometimes people get depressed or sad before their birthday. But really, it's because the sun is accentuating your 12th house, which is these unconscious things that you don't want to deal with. So you kind of have several options. You have the option to self-medicate, which you know I never recommend because it doesn't get anywhere and it only damages you. But many people wind up doing that. The worse you feel, the more you go to food or substance so that you stop feeling that bad. We're so terrified of feeling bad. Or maybe it just feels so bad you can't do anything other than make it stop. It's not really the way to go, okay? So I'm encouraging you this year to look into some other options. One of the other options is that you do nothing. You don't do something proactively to work with your unconscious space, but you don't do anything against it. You know, maybe you breathe through it. Maybe you seek the help of a professional. So I guess that's not really doing nothing. I guess it's not really an option to do nothing. I guess what I meant is that you can take an active role in this to the degree that you're comfortable. But the more you go in and use this space, this experience, the more you're going to be able to clean out that space. And it feels so much better. Similar to how you feel if you clean out under the refrigerator and put it back, you can't see under the refrigerator anymore, but you know that it was nasty. And you know that it's now clean. And it feels so much better. So I guess there are people that could just do nothing, right? I'm obviously not a do nothing type of a person, so it makes me feel uncomfortable to even think about that. But I want to encourage you to take an active role in clearing out this energy because as the planets start to move into Gemini, it's going to be so much the way that you are. And the time of year where the personal planets are moving into the sign that is your sign, it's your natural way of being, you get that way plus so much more. And this tends to spin in a circle. And rather than spin in a circle like chasing your tail, you could be moving in this upward spiral and actually getting somewhere. So deep psychological work, hypnotherapy, working with your dreams, working with a psychiatrist or a therapist, past life regression, anything that goes deep into the psyche is so indicated at this time. This is before your birthday, the 4 weeks before your birthday, and this is because of Mercury retrograde, which essentially is covering all of May and June. So we can't really get away from the fact that you're going to have things coming up that you've tried to avoid and you can't avoid them any longer. So that's the point. So I call this month, the theme of this month, the twins dominate. And the twins are the sign that represents your sign, Gemini. And I imagine the twins, just as I see Gemini energy, you know, they're very playful. You're playful and mischievous and have this sparkle to your eyes and this little grin that, you know, you can tell I have someone close to me that is a Gemini and looks just like that because I'm looking at them as I'm describing this. But they're, you know, you're social and you're active and there's all of this changeable energy around you. And so this month we have 6 different afflictions to that way of being. So at the same time as you have all these planets moving into the way of being that is Gemini, you have transits coming and blocking your way of being. And the first one of these transits is Mercury in Gemini, which Mercury rules Gemini, so there's extra strength there, opposing Saturn. Now, an opposition is a 180-degree angle. It's a challenging angle. It's an antagonistic angle. It's an angle that comes and just deadlocks like that. So you've got Mercury in Gemini spinning around doing its fun thing. And then you've got Saturn, the stern father of the twins, coming and antagonizing what they're trying to do, saying no, just no. And that is the theme of the month, where you're kind of spinning around trying to do what you do, and at every place you go, someone or something is like, nope, no you don't. And so you're supposed to be learning some lessons from this. Some of the things that you're doing you're not supposed to be doing. That's an easy one. Also, the time is best used this month for quieting the mouth, quieting the surroundings, quieting the body, quieting the mind. Not a very comfortable space for most humans. Less comfortable space for people with one, or some of you, many of you will have more than one placement of Mercury in Gemini, or of Gemini in your chart. So it's time to quiet down. And some ways that the universe might put on you time to quiet down if you're not volunteering to do this is it can mess with your phone. It can mess with your tablet. It can mess with your computer. It can mess with your car. It can mess with your communication to people or people you normally talk to. It can mess with your way of communicating, your actual voice itself. So it's best to be proactive. When you know this energy is coming, that's time to be still, time to be quiet. You don't want to have something come and make you not be able to move your physical body. You'd rather do that voluntarily than have you be kind of hemmed in. But that's exactly what this month is like. But when you come into that quiet space, then the creative ideas that you can tap into, the creative solutions, the other aspects of your life that you're not focusing on as much while you're spinning around doing Gemini's things can be focused on, and that's part of the point. So on the same day, May 3rd, we have the full moon in Scorpio, and full moons, we know, tend to bring fullness to emotion. They bring fullness to experience, completions, things coming to fruition, endings, sometimes drama. And when you have a full moon in a water sign, then there tends to be extra all of that, extra energy, extra drama, extra emotions. And all that's happening at the time that your expression or movement is being hemmed in somehow. I wouldn't pick that day for a day that you wanted to express something really important to someone if you can help it. If it just happens to be you have something to present on that day and you can't get out of it, let the chips fall where they may, and maybe you'll use the energy and just rock it, right? So we never really know what the outcome is going to be, but you're going to have a tough audience if you're presenting, that's for sure. Okay, so May 15th, we have the second of these 6 aspects this month that are antagonistic to Gemini energy, and that is Mars opposing Saturn. So we have Mercury in Gemini and Saturn coming and make an opposition. Then on the 15th we have Mars, which rules how you use your energy. Mars rules Aries, and Aries is like the energy of projecting oneself headlong into something without looking, kind of like an arrow. You can't really stop an arrow from moving unless you get pinned with it. It's just going to kind of go in the direction it's going to go. And Mars energy is very much like that. So Mars in Gemini wants to spin and move freely. And again, Saturn, the stern dad of the twins, comes with a 180-degree angle and says, no, you don't. So that happens. And then we have on May 17th, the new moon in Taurus, which the new moon is also a fabulous time for making wishes. And you do have 10 wishes on the new moon as well. And if your birthday is on or near the new moon within a couple of days, then there's more energy on your birthday, and you do have 20 wishes. You have your 10 birthday wishes, and you have or actually, it wouldn't be for you guys, it would be for Taurus. Sorry about that. But just in general, when there is a new moon, because you will have a new moon into June, and when you have a new moon, if your birthday is on any new moon ever or near any new moon ever, then you do have those extra wishes. So the new moon in Taurus is on May 17th or May 18th, depending on where you are. And usually this is just clear, new seed planting energy, but you've got flanked on both sides of this new moon, you have antagonistic energy. Antagonism is just the word of the month. So on the one side you have the Mars opposing Saturn, and then on the other side we have Mercury going retrograde on May 18th. So we know that the several days before and after Mercury goes retrograde, it's even more haywire. And Mercury rules Gemini. So everything that we know about Mercury retrograde is and then some, this Mercury retrograde, because Mercury rules cars and devices and communication and things that you communicate on and communicating with people and vehicles of all kinds. So when you have it in Gemini and it's going backwards, there's a lot of things that are going to come up with devices, but rather than get frustrated, it might be time to take a device break. The universe is going to be suggesting to many people, and some people are going to get it, some people aren't. It's time to take a device break, time to be quiet, time to check your connections with the social media, time to go inward. This is a time to go inward. It's wonderful for sabbatical. It's wonderful for retreat. And this is the whole month, and actually almost all of June as well, because Mercury goes retrograde on May 18th. The shadow period for Mercury retrograde starts on May 4th. So essentially the whole month is covered in Mercury retrograde energy. And then May 18th through June 11th is the actual retrograde for Mercury. And that's all in Gemini. And then June 11th through June 27th is the post-Mercury retrograde shadow period. So it's just a time to go backwards. If you've been listening to my horoscopes for a while, especially for the last 3 months, then you know I've been talking about the end of February, March, and April as being your times to just go for the gusto and plant seeds and just do as many things as you can to launch things. Because once we get into May, May starts a 6-month in a row series where we have at least one personal planet retrograde and or the shadow of another one affecting it. So we've got Mercury retrograde, then we have Venus retrograde, then we have Mercury retrograde, and the shadow periods are kind of like hanging over each other's shadow periods, where there's not really any clear time until November where there's not a personal planet in retrograde. So now don't be concerned that you can't do anything during this time. There are just certain things that are not as much indicated. So let's say you're listening to this and it's March or April. Then try to get as many of your things launched in this time as possible. And then you can use the next 6 months to go back over what you launched. If you're not ready to launch something, then you can use the next 6 months to prepare launching for the end of the year. If you already have things you've been working on, you can go back to things. So for instance, you might see me come up with things that seem new over these next 6 months. They're not. They're books I've written a long time ago that I'm taking out in a different form, or they're things that I used to teach that I'm now teaching again. And it might be new to you, but it's not new to me. And that's a really good guideline. So just go and dust off all of those creative things. And Geminis are, pretty well versed at many, many things. So you probably have this whole, I'm smiling because I'm thinking like of a child who's a Gemini whose parents buy them a guitar because they're interested in that for 2 months, and then buy them this because they're interested in that. And then I'm thinking of this room full of like all of these toys that they were interested in for 2 months. So you probably have all of these creative projects that you kind of partly started and then tabled because you were interested in the next thing. And that's perfect. That's the way energy moves through you, and that's fine. This time of the year is the time to go back over those ideas that you had, things that you were thinking about, projects you were talking about with someone else, and then go back in and work on them more. So if someone contacts you during May or any of this time through October from the past and says, hey, we should start talking about this and this and this again, then it's a good time to open back up to things. Now keep working on it and then wait till the stars are more clear to launch it. But it's perfect for breathing life back into old projects, back into old hobbies, back into old things that worked for you, or just trying different things on. Retrograde cycles, I call them times to try things on. So May heralds this beginning of this 6-month period of trying different things on. And you'll have a chance to go back and do all of this if you're not spun out doing things you're not supposed to be doing. So if you see that something is stopping you from moving forward in a certain direction, then before you really push in that direction, just really feel into, maybe you're supposed to be doing something different. Maybe the universe is whispering or screaming to you. So then at the end of the month, from between May 25th and May 31st, we have 3 squares with Neptune, with the personal planet. So again, Mars in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, and now the Sun in Gemini, all are going to be making 90-degree angles to Neptune. So this is a time where, 90-degree angle is challenging just like a 180-degree angle is. And it brings difficulties or challenges or blocks. I always believe that the blocks and the oppositions are our friends, and thank God for them, because if you look back over your life and you see things that you've accomplished, most of the time it was because you busted through something that was really critical and you got to the other side of that. And these are the kind of angles that aggravate you enough that you feel motivated into action. They antagonize you enough that you just say enough and you do something different. So although depending on what your perspective is, or the perspective of an astrological reader, that's why how a person sees things is very much how the flavor of what they present is. I'm a Sag with 9 placements in Sag with Aries rising, and I'm an eternal optimist. So I'm always looking at how can something that looks nasty or looks like challenging be awesome for us, and how can we make the most of this, and how can this improve our lives? And these are the kind of aspects that you really want for that kind of work, So the end of the month is bringing this Neptunian influence in a negative way, or seemingly negative way, through deception, through blocks, through not seeing the whole picture, through people working behind the scenes and not necessarily for your own good, or kind of working against you in some way. So just don't trust everything you hear. Things that seem rosy might not be. You just have to trust your intuition. If someone has that look about them like they're hiding something, they're probably hiding something. If you meet someone new during that time, do not move in with them, because there's a very good chance that by the time all these things regulate, that you're going to be like, what was I thinking? I see this happen all the time, where someone meets someone in a Mercury retrograde or a Venus retrograde. Then when the planet goes direct, they're like, what was I thinking? Right? You weren't. And that's the whole thing, is you can't see through some of these things. So just be really careful with how you move forward into things that come into your field, because things are being obscured. So for many of you, let's see, for you early degree placement Geminis, right from the beginning of the month, you still have Venus in your first house. You middle degree Geminis are going to have Venus in your first house for most of the month, and you late degree Gemini placements, you'll have this later in the month. But sometime during May, for all of you, you'll have Venus in the first house. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because this happens about once every 18 or so months. And when it does happen, you're more charming at this time. Now, Geminis in general are known for their way with words that is very charming and very eloquent. And this period of time makes you even more charming. Now, this is not taking into consideration all those blocks that we were talking about, because those antagonistic energies are still there, going on at the same time as this other aspect, which is totally supportive of people listening to you, believing you, and following what you say, or giving you what you ask for. But this is also a wonderful time to take pictures. Okay, so if you know that you're going to need for your website or some other promotional things, a picture in the future, this is a good period of time. And again, for you early Gemini placements or birthdays, about the first week you'll still have this. For you middle degree placements or birthdays, you'll have this pretty much all month. And then for you later degrees, it's going to start to get there towards the end of the month. So pictures that you take now will carry a lot of positive energy and really show what you'd be trying to show if you're trying to sell something to someone. You know what I'm saying? Or try to show them who you are. This will show up really well now in pictures, or in writing, or in speaking, with the exception that the communication stuff is really awry. But the pictures, you can try for that. Also, if you just want to take nice family pictures or nice pictures with people close to you, you might find that you're really happy with how the pictures turned out. I've seen that happen when Venus is in that house. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. Your birthday time is a supremely awesome time to have a personal coaching session. It's also a supremely awesome time to get involved with inner work, like awesome inner work, like my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine. I put this program together for many reasons. It's available on a sliding scale, so it's really essentially available to everyone because the lower end of the scale is very affordable. And I want to help you bust through your glass ceiling. I want to help you get to the next layer of whatever you're doing. If you feel like you only get so far and then you get right up to this point and you can't seem to get past it, you're stuck in a matrix, that is what I intended the program for. And I also work with you with that in personal sessions, but I highly recommend the virtual coaching program too, in conjunction with that. So check that out on my website. You can also stay tuned about any classes I might have upcoming on my website, aspiritualspark.com. And definitely sign up for my free email newsletter where you become part of my community. I hope you have a wonderful May. See you next month. Bye.